was Potter that came up with the...
Yeah, the idea for the challenge.
And if you do say Potter...
Say, I mean Lewis Porter. That's what I refer to him as.
Should we refer to him as Potter?
If you want to refer to him as Potter...
You can, but you need to make it clear who you are referring to.
Oh yeah, they'll think it's you. You should be Potter. Nah, you can never be a Potter.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Trying to think of an opener.
That was a bit much, wasn't it? Yeah.
Let's get the show on the road.
Bait bucket roulette! The challenge really is every bit as fun as I hope it comes across on camera. It's pretty much the highlight in the diary for that month.
Yeah, we just have a really, really good laugh. I enjoy filming it, editing it. It is just really, really fun.
I absolutely love doing it. We have an absolute scream, me and Harry.
Hopefully that comes across as well.
It was my mate Lewis Porter who first kind of came up with the idea of the challenge, and the whole premise behind it was that it involved, or well, depended purely on interaction from the public on Facebook, and without their involvement, without their support, the whole thing couldn't go ahead. The guys at Fox would ask for challenges on their Facebook page, and then the public would write in with their suggestions.
We pick one of them, we throw it at Mark, and he has to take on whatever it is that gets chosen. He has no option, he's got to get on with it.
I thought the idea was brilliant. I mean, there was nothing else like it in terms of carp fishing videos or how they're made. I thought it certainly had legs, if you like. I knew it could be very good, but it all boiled down to whether the public got behind it or not.
I hoped that our followers on Facebook would get behind it. I really hoped that, and we do have quite an active Facebook page that engages with sort of our fans and followers who are on there. So I really, really hope that they would. And after the first one, it was obvious that they were going to.
We had a good number of people writing in with their suggestions.
They do get a little bit overzealous sometimes. Some of you guys have very, very vivid imaginations.
Pretty mental.
Completely out of this world crazy.
Adam Snowden, I remember you very well. You asked me if I could do the challenge naked.
I think someone suggested to Mark that he's got 24 hours to beat his personal best. Mark's personal best has stood for 11 years. It's 56 pounds. If he could go out and catch a 56 pounder in 24 hours, I think he'd do it a lot more regularly than he currently does.
I've had someone want me to catch carp in a river from a weir pool in flood on a zig.
So yeah, we get some crazy ones, but we get some really, really good ones, and it's great fun looking through them all.
The first challenge we did was to catch carp on 3 different lead arrangements: a shocker rig, helicopter rig and a chod rig. And the venue which I chose on that occasion was Greenacres in Peterborough, one of my favourite day ticket waters actually.
It was pretty tough conditions. It got very, very cold at night. We had a frost, and the fact that Mark had to catch on 3 different lead setups, you know, it's not really the one when something works you want to put it straight back out again, but he wasn't allowed to do that.
And that venue does kind of lend itself more to a nomadic, stalking, opportunist type approach, which isn't easy when you've got camera in tow, being noisy, crunching around, trying to get by the water's edge to do all sorts of arty filming positions. I think what made it even more difficult was I'd fractured my ankle the day before, so I was the least stealthy person imaginable on that occasion. And I think the moral of the story is, don't try and have a dance-off with some Irish dancers on the telly, because it always ends badly.
He managed to get through it. He finished it off with a 31 pounder.
Which was the biggest fish I'd ever caught from the venue. It was just a great session all around, really. It was good fun, good barbecue on the night, good fish, caught quite a lot of fish after the camera stopped rolling as well. It's actually up there as one of the most memorable sessions of the year for me. The response from that first video was amazing. I didn't really expect it to have taken off quite like it did.
The response picked up really, really quickly from it. The first couple of days that it was on, we were getting plenty of feedback, and then more and more people were sharing it and more people were seeing it, and it was obvious that we had got a sort of formula that people liked.
That first video now, it's been online for about 7 months, and it's received, well, it's now approaching 90,000 views. So yeah, I never for 1 minute thought we'd be getting that sort of response.
So the second one, he failed.
But to be honest, I wasn't really that surprised. The weather was just abysmal, absolutely abysmal.
People think that, you know, if you get all these things for free, then it's easy for you, and you should be going out and catching every single time. And
before I'd even unloaded the kit out of the van, I'd wrote it off as being a fail. Temperatures were at the highest 13 degrees. It was cold, it was wet, it was windy, and then catching, perfect conditions for catching on the bottom, which we did. Catching on the zig, we managed, but catching on the top with foot-high waves rolling across the lake, I mean, you wouldn't turn up and think, right, let's get the floaters out.
And he did actually manage to get the odd fish going on the top, but it was never going to happen, and we both kind of knew that from the start.
I'm sure after that fail there will have been people at home screaming at the telly saying, well, I could have passed it on this water and that water. But the thing with the challenge, it has to be a challenge. I'm sure there will be quite a few day ticket waters, heavily stocked waters, where the challenge could have been passable. But that wasn't really how we wanted to do it. We had to stay true. It had to be a challenge. And I think given the conditions we were faced with on that particular venue, I just don't think it was passable.
So the venue for the third challenge, the River Nene, seemed absolutely perfect.
I don't remember doing a river challenge. I don't think it ever happened. We had sat there the night before, seen 2 fish, or maybe even 3 fish show over his spots. It was absolutely perfect. It was going to happen. We were sure it was going to happen, and then morning came and nothing had happened. And we thought that the moment had passed. The sun was up. Yeah, it was getting pretty hot, and completely out of the blue, his rod went into meltdown. I legged it back, grabbed the camera, and by the time I sort of got back to him with the camera, it was lodged in a little bit of weed, and that weed just obviously helped to pop the hook out. Losing that fish on the first morning, I don't think I could have felt any lower. Probably the low point of my year, actually. I was never going to get many chances on this challenge. I'd gone in with the thought there was going to be 1 bite, 1 fish, job done. So to get that bite and have a hook pull, I knew that was it. The chance had been and gone, and I wasn't going to get any other chances to pass the challenge. And that is pretty much how it panned out. I was perhaps a little bit, not worried, but I did kind of wonder how the public would view that, 2 fails on the bounce. So, but the crazy thing is, that challenge has proved to be the most popular challenge to date.
It's amazing that a carp fishing video where no carp were actually caught has had over 100,000 views.
Which is incredible. I never for 1 minute thought we'd get that sort of response and get that sort of views. But I would like to think that the popularity is down to the fact that so many people can relate to it. It's me going fishing, having a good time, having a laugh, which, you know, let's face it, that's why most of us go. Do I feel like I have a score to settle with the river? Well, I probably do, but will I be back? Probably not. It just wasn't for me, to be honest. I don't know, it just wasn't the sort of style of fishing that I particularly enjoy. But if I'm set another challenge, then I suppose I'll have to go back, won't I? Challenge 4 was a supermarket baits challenge, and that was to catch 3 carp on 3 different supermarket baits. This should have been an absolute doddle because I fish with supermarket baits all the time in my everyday fishing. But what I hadn't really counted on was I couldn't use sweet corn, luncheon meat or pepperami.
He was like, yeah, but we can use sweet corn, can't we?
Really? Yeah. Really, but actually really? Yeah. But really? Yeah.
And yeah, you have to be quite firm with him because he thinks he can get away with a lot of stuff when in reality he can't.
This was probably the most frustrating session of all the challenges.
When Mark's not catching, he gets stressed.
You need to get your sad music on standby.
He should have used jelly babies instead. Why use mussels? He should have used turkey dinosaurs dipped in tomato soup.
I'm dehydrated. I'm quite tired. And the stress of this challenge and the realisation of what I've actually got to take on, I think suddenly just hit me. Like I just ran into a wall of realisation.
There was people all around me. It was a busy lake and there was people catching using bright pop-ups, and that was a real struggle for me. It was a bit of a headbanger, and I was just crying out to be able to use a bright pop-up. It is so frustrating watching other people catch on tactics that you would normally be using. Getting that fish right at the dying moments, just minutes before we had to call it time, it felt great. It felt euphoric almost, and I think you can tell that from a reaction when that fish does go in the net. Oh. Had I have failed that challenge and it would have been 3 fails on the bounce, it would have been so hard to deal with. I mean, that challenge on paper, it was the easiest one in my eyes. So yeah, I don't know how I would have bounced back from that one. So challenge 5, that was the bait bucket roulette challenge. Really good challenge, I thought, too. And what this involved was 3 buckets. Inside one was boilies, inside another was natural baits, and the other bucket was just pop-ups. Now I didn't know which was what was inside what bucket. I had to select one, and then I could only use baits from inside that bucket. The water that Fox had selected for me was Mallard Lake on the Stannick Lakes complex, and there is a very good stock of fish in there, a good head of double figure fish with a few 20s, but this challenge also meant I had to catch a brace of 20s. Now it was going to be a very, very tall ask, and I thought the only way I could do it realistically was an out and out boilie approach. I thought that would definitely give me the best chance of succeeding, but I picked the natural baits and ended up using maggots. The challenge kind of went as I expected. I had expected to catch more fish than a boilie or pop-up approach, but them to be of a smaller size, and yeah, it proved to be the case. I ended up with 7 carp that night, so it was a productive session. The largest one we banked, I think, was about £19 if I remember rightly, but it was a brilliant night's fishing.
I'm more likely to set them free than to chop them up.
The worms. No, a few people have said was that put on for the camera.
He genuinely cannot cut them up. I do not know what is wrong with him, what planet he is on, but he has a thing about chopping up worms and he can't do it.
I just could not massacre them now. I couldn't chop them up, no way. So yeah, they are running wild and free as we speak in the Northamptonshire countryside somewhere. Go on. Off you go. Well, you're going to have to move a bit faster than that, lads. Jesus. Yeah, we have filmed a special, an hour-long special for next year's Edges DVD, but I'm not allowed to give anything away. Not a thing. You'll have to wait for next year's DVD to find out more.
It is epic. It is truly, truly epic.
It is special, as you'd expect from a special. When it comes to filming the challenge, it isn't a big production at all. It is myself and Harry, who is cameraman, editor, lighting, wardrobe, makeup artist, tea boy. Actually, no, he's not tea boy. I'm lying. I don't think he's ever made a cup of tea yet. Does Harry have any bad habits? Well, he is such a snob, especially when it comes to my choice of biscuit.
Pictures? What on earth are these biscuits? They taste like turd. Bourbons? They even look like turds.
Quite good.
Mark is probably the most high maintenance angler possibly ever. Clothes, literally every 5 minutes he changes clothes. He's got his driving glasses, his fishing glasses, his sunbathing glasses. He's got about 5 different pairs of sunglasses with him. He'll change 3 hoodies in the space of an hour. And his hair as well. I've never known a man to have such a bad haircut and be so bothered about it.
Also, and this is not, I'm not saying this is just a bad habit, but he's also a little bit deaf in one ear, and which means if he goes to sleep on his good ear, there is no waking him. And I look back on the very first challenge where I'd hooked a fish in the early hours of the morning, and me sort of shouting, "Harry, I've got one!" That kind of turned into me shouting the top of my voice, which still didn't wake him. Then I had to resort to throwing gravel in his bivvy, which still didn't wake him. Then I had to just like walk back about 20 yards up the bank and give him a kick until he finally stirred. So yeah, not really a bad habit, but one of the things I've got to put up with.
On the challenges, Mark is genuinely as real as he is in real life. I come, and from the sort of start of when we film, that's who he is. I come out and have a laugh with him, and we film it, and that is what happens.
I don't think the programme could really even work if it wasn't for Harry and I's relationship. I mean, we really are like chalk and cheese. I can imagine him later in life being kind of like an eccentric toff. I mean, in the nicest possible way, but I just imagine him driving round Lord Felchington, Todger Brown's estate, shooting flamingos out the back of a Robin Reliant, just, whereas I can't ever imagine myself doing that. So we really are very different people, and I think that's why it works so well.
How are we going to make it more carpy?
More steam, more carpy.
What's on the deck? That's carpy.
The more tea you drink, the carpier you are.
I've got a clean cup. That's not carpy.
Chunky knits, they're carpy.
I'll sleep under the stars. That'll make it carpy. No sweat hooks. Those are the most carpy hooks you can get.
Carpy, isn't it? Yeah, I was a little bit surprised how the old that's carpy thing took off. It kind of just exploded, didn't it? Really. I think at one point it was even trending on Twitter. But I don't think it's starting to tire or anything. I think it's now a kind of common used word, phrase in the carpy vocabulary, and rightly so. Yeah, I think it's quite cool really when I'm scrolling through Twitter and there's that many hashtags that's carpy. Ever getting inundated with pics saying, is this carpy, is that carpy? And yeah, reply to everyone. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But people need to know. Do I consider myself to be carpy? I would have to say no, because I tend to fish with tight lines instead of slack lines that just bow like that, pointlessly waving around in between rod rings. Why else aren't I carpy? I don't fold my reel handles, so that makes me not carpy. So no, I'm not very carpy really. Harry's probably less carpy than me, for the simple fact he can't appreciate economy supermarket biscuits and has to have, I don't know, his nanny's Madeira cake from a family recipe that dates back to the 17th century or something.
Literally all the time I'm thinking, when I'm watching Mark fishing, all the time I'm thinking, what on earth are you doing? it sounds harsh, but everyone has their own sort of style of fishing, and I'd probably approach a lot of the things in a different way, but then Mark gets brilliant results with the way that he does it. But yeah, sometimes I just think, what on earth are you doing, Mark?
I never for one moment expected the challenge to kind of gain the momentum that it has, and yeah, I am a bit surprised, delighted and, well, humbled, quite frankly, from the response it's gained from the public. I think a lot of people can perhaps relate to some of the situations that I find myself in, and you know, like I said, maybe relate them to their everyday fishing as well, and also it does show the highs and the lows and having a laugh along the way. And
as far as I'm concerned, the challenge is definitely not over. There's loads of scope for loads of different challenges.
We have just filmed a kind of a Christmas special, but as for challenges in 2015, that's kind of out of my hands really. It's up to the guys at Fox to make that decision, but I'm sure if you bombard them with messages asking for more challenges, I'm sure they'll give in. If you'd like to watch more of my challenge videos, then click the link here. Or if you'd like to subscribe to Fox Fishing TV, then click the link here.
That was good.